Hey all, welcome back to my channel. So in today's channel we are going to discuss about the entire arrays. Okay, so until now we have discussed every array in detail, like what are arrays, how are they categorized and all. So in today's session I am going to just give you a review on all arrays in one shot. Okay, so if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing my channel and hit on the notification bell also. Also follow me on LinkedIn and my Telegram channel also, where I'll be uploading all the important updates regarding the VLSI front-end courses. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. Let's dive into our topic today, which is about arrays. So you all know that arrays in system Verilog are categorized into two parts. So one is static arrays, okay, also known as fixed arrays, and again the second is dynamic arrays. So again in this dynamic arrays, you are having three types of arrays. Is it or not? So one is dynamic array, the second one is associative array, and the third one is queues. Okay, so we have discussed in detail about how are these arrays categorized, and what is static array, what is dynamic, why is it used, what is associate, what are the methods in associative array, why, what are queues, why are queues more important, more easy to deal with when it compared to associative array and all. So all this we have discussed in detail about thing. Okay, if you didn't see those videos, I'll link all the arrays videos link in the description box. Okay, if you are interested you can check it out, and if you are following me regularly on this channel, please do remember that arrays is one of the most important topic in system Verilog. We can call it as a base, okay, basics in order to further go into your system Verilog course, because without arrays you don't find any code. Is it or not? So that is why basically arrays are important. If you are interested you can go check it out there. Okay, so in today's video we will be discussing about the review of all these arrays. So basically what I want to say is, I want to categorize, since we have categorized all these arrays, so today I want to give differentiations between all these arrays in one go. Okay, so before going into the actual video, like before seeing what is how we are going to differentiate all these arrays, first I'll just give you a small tip in order to remember these arrays easily, like in order to differentiate these arrays. Basically why is it important is, when you go to any interviews or when you go to any internships and all, okay, when you are declaring the array you should know which type of array is it is. Okay, because in order to use an array you should know how to declare it. Is it or not? So declaration is very important. And also one thing among these arrays is, every individual is array is having its unique declaration. Okay, one declaration of array is entirely different from another declaration of the array. So this you should definitely know how to declare all these arrays. Clear? So let us see now. Firstly, when it comes to static declaration, static array declaration. Okay, when you are going to use any static array declaration, how are you going to do it? First is int. Any data type you like, not only int, but here I am mentioning int. Okay, int arr, nothing but this is array name. Okay, int arr, okay, of 5. Okay, so this is how you will be declaring the static array. Okay, data type name along with some size. So what this is doing here, as soon as you are declaring the size 5, so all the 5 memory locations are being created at during the compilation time itself. Okay, and one disadvantage in the static array is you can't change it once you declare it. Okay, so the declaration should be done during the size should be allocated during the declaration, and once you declare the size you can't change it in static array. But with the advantage in static array is, since the memory is already allocated during the compilation, the simulation will be done very easily, that very fastly. Okay, so that is one advantage and one disadvantage in static array. Now let us see how we are going to declare the dynamic array. So when this comes to dynamic array, how we are going to declare it, right? Int arr, same example I am taking, int arr blank. Okay, this is how you will be declaring a dynamic array. That means data type, array name, any individual name with a square bracket, empty square bracket. Now what happens? Since you are giving it as an empty square bracket, then the system is understanding that you are declaring a dynamic array. So then it will wait to create the memory allocation during the simulation time. Now what happens? In order to declare the size in the simulation, you have to use the new method. So what you will do? ARR equal to new of 5. Okay, you will be writing another declaration like ARR equal to new of 5 whenever you want to create the memory location. There you will be declaring. Now what happens? Now the 5 memory locations are created, but where are they created? During the simulation time. When your code is being simulated, then the memory creation is done like new of 5. And also one disadvantage in dynamic array is you can change the size of the allocation. That means when you want to reduce the size of your memory, you can do it. When you want to increase the size of memory, you can do it by using various dynamic methods. We'll see it in the next slide what are the methods that we use in dynamic array. Okay, and then coming to associative array. So in associative array, what is the advantage that is overcome in that is not there in dynamic array? So basically, when you are declaring a dynamic array, you should do it in this format: int arr of int. Okay, that means this is a data type. That means data type, name of the array, in within the square brackets you will be mentioning the data type. Okay, so now what happens here in a static array and dynamic array, indexes will always be of integer format. Okay, but in case of associative array, the indexes can be either int or any kind of data type. They can be real type, they can be string data type, any kind of data type they can be done. So that is associative array. Okay, so now what happens? Int arr of int, or if you don't want to know declare it like this, you can declare it in another way. Like you will see this type of declaration in most of the examples. Int arr of star. Star means any data type that is required. Okay, that means you can use any data type if you are keeping the star. But if you are keeping the int, then you can only use int data type as your indexes. Got my point? Yes. So this is the advantage in associative array. What is that? So when you are declaring star, that is associative array. So now in associative array, what happens? So in associative array, the memory is declared when you are calling this array. That is the difference between dynamic and associative. Because in dynamic array, even though you are not calling this particular array, when you are declaring it, the memory won't be allocated. But when during the simulation time, when you are calling this new method, the memory will be allocated. But in case of associative array, only when you are using this array, then only the memory will be created. Until and unless you are not using, that means you are not calling this array, the memory won't be created. Okay, so this is far more advanced compared to that of dynamic array. Okay, because in dynamic array, even though you are not using or using the memory, but when you are calling the new method, it will be allocating the memory in the simulation time. But in case of associative array, only when you call that array, it will be creating the memory. Okay, so that is associative array, and the associative array is declared in this format like int arr of star. Clear? So this is about associative array. So the thing that comes with associative array is basically, if you see the difference here, in dynamic array, whether we use it or we don't use it, the memory is allocated during the simulation time. But in associative array, as I told you, only when you call the array, the memory is being allocated dynamically. So that is why when we are designing a code, and when we are writing a code where we don't know how much amount of memory we need to allocate for that particular circuit, then in such cases we will be going for associative array. When the memory is sparse is nothing but very large, and we don't know how much we could use it or how much we could allocate it, because in associative array, as I told you, Only when we are calling it, the memory is being allocated. So that is why, even though we are using or not, if the memory is created means that is waste. So in order to avoid that, we will be using this associative array for sparse memories. Okay, clear? So this is about associative array. And then comes queues. Okay, for queues, okay, queue is also same as dynamic array. Okay, but the only difference between queues and dynamic arrays is, if you see, similar, just like dynamic array, queue memory is also created during the compilation time itself. Okay, and queue is declared in this manner, like int arr of dollar. Okay, so this is the declaration. If you are using dollar, then the system thinks that you are using, you are declaring a queue. Okay, so queue works on the principle like first in first out. Okay, basically in dynamic array, the disadvantage in dynamic array, because queues, and as I told you, queues and dynamic arrays both working is entirely same, like both will be creating the memory during the compilation time. Okay, and the memory creation is also similar to that of yeah, dynamic array. But the main difference is, so in dynamic array, when we want to insert the values, okay, what we have to do, that means, when, for example, what I am saying is, for example, in dynamic array, okay, this is your dynamic array where you have taken four values like 1 2 3 4, and now you want to insert one more array along with these arrays. Now what you can do, along with these arrays, if you want to insert any other two elements, then you have to move this entire array along with the remaining elements. Is it or not? I have told about this, how we are going to resize it and how we are going to retain the old values. Everything I have explained clearly in the dynamic array. I'll link that in the description box. You can go check it out there. Okay, but as for now, when we want to resize and we want to retain the old values in dynamic array, we have to move the entire array. Okay, but in queues what happens means, we don't need to do that. When we want only two values among this and when we want to eject the remaining values, we can do that by using various queue methods that were designed. Okay, so we can insert any value we like, and in queues the advantage is that we can insert at any point of time. Like you can insert the value either from front side or from back side. Okay, from any position you want, you can insert it. That is the disadvantage in dynamic array, which is overcome in queues. Okay, so this is about queues declaration, right? Hope you got a clear idea on all these arrays declaration. Now let us see the main differences between all this. Since you already know, this is the syntax. If you see, data type, array name, number. Similarly for dynamic array, data type, array name, without number you will be using a normal square bracket with a space. For associative array, within the square bracket you should be having index type. Index type means which type of data type it is, or you can just have it as a star, no problem in that. For q you should be having a dollar. Okay, dollar represents that you are using q, star represents that you are using associative array, empty space represents that you are using dynamic array, and if you are notating it with some number like some 5 or 6, then that represents that that is a static or fixed size array. Okay, so you already know that the size of this array is known in the compilation time, and here the size can be changed during the simulation time, which can't be done in static arrays. Here the allocation of the storage is done only when it is used, and the allocated memory is not continuous in nature. In dynamic array the allocated memory is continuous in nature. What is the continuous in nature is nothing but, for example, if you are taking new of 5, then what happens? New of 0, new of 1, new of 2, that means index types will be in a continuous manner, 0 1 2 3 4. Okay, the same thing applies for q also. When you are allocating the memory, all the memory indexes will be in a continuous format, 0 1 2 3 4. But that doesn't happen in associate array, because when you want to use only this memory, then you can call only this memory, and only this memory is being created. In the similarly, when you want to use only index 4, then you can only call with index 4, and only for index 4 the memory is created. Now there won't be any memory for 0, 1, 3 indexes. So that is why that is called not continuous in nature. Whereas in dynamic and queues, this is not the case. It is continuous in nature. Okay. No array method. So static doesn't have any array methods, because once created, that's it, no change in that. So but coming to dynamic arrays, it is having some methods like new, in order to create the new size, and in order to know the size, in order to delete the array. So for these things you are having certain methods. When it comes to associative arrays, along with these methods, it is having some more methods in order to declare, in order to see the numbers, how much length it is, like how many elements are present in that particular array, in order to delete that array, and whether any element is present in that particular index or not, and what is the first element, what is the last element, what is the previous element, what is the next element. So all these methods you could use in associative arrays. When it comes to queues, it is having many more compared to that of associative arrays, like push pop. Again in push pop you will be having some four methods again: push front, push pop front, pop back. Similarly insert, delete, size, shuffle. So all these are the queue methods. Okay. So it is faster as the memory allocation is done during compilation time. As I already told you, since the memory is already allocated during the compilation time, so the simulation is done faster. But in all these three, the simulation is slow compared to that of static array. Okay. So when you come to fastness, this is the number one, we can say this is number two. Okay. Both will be working same, and this is number three. Compared to so dynamic array, associative is much slower. Okay. So this is the thing. The static arrays, the index can be of integer data type. Here the index, that means index number, you it is I told you now, here the index numbers should be of integer. In dynamic is also it is integer, but in strings it can be of like any data type, like either sorry, it in associative arrays the index can be of either number or name also. Okay. In queues also mostly it will be given as number itself, you can just remember it like that. Okay. Here in dynamic array, so this is what the thing is. In dynamic arrays, the memory allocations, that means the index that you are declaring in dynamic array is continuous. Similarly in queues also it is continuous in nature, but in associative arrays it is not continuous. Why? I told you in the starting itself what is the reason for that. Okay. Before I have explained about this, right? In static array the size is known in the compilation time. This makes it possible for the simulator to ensure that continuous chunk of memory is allocated. That means here whenever you are allocating the memory is allocated in a continuous format. Okay. That means all the memories, okay, we have discussed about this continuous chunk of memories in the static and fixed size arrays. You can go to that video and check it out. Okay. So this is it. Okay. This is useful as we don't, as we may have instances where we don't know how many elements of our element we require. When okay, basically dynamic array is used when we don't know how many elements we require, and if we are fear of wastage of memory. Okay. If we don't want to waste some amount of memory, and in such cases we will be using dynamic array. Actually associative array is also used in that way only, but associative array is more flexible compared to that of dynamic array, because it is having many methods and it is much more advantageous compared to that of dynamic array. So that is why when we want to have memory which is far more larger amount than that of dynamic arrays, then we go for associative arrays. Okay. For queues, as I already told you, the working of dynamic and queues is same, but the difference is that we are having advantage in queue, like we can insert and delete any element from the queue easily compared to that of dynamic array. Okay. This we have already discussed. How are we going to declare this? Okay. Basically you will be declaring the size either in this way, or you can just give it in a compact declaration like array of 6. Okay. For dynamic array, first you will be declaring the blank, and after that you will be calling a new function for declaring the size. Okay. For associative array, you can either declare it in a string or any data type format, or you can just use star symbol. Okay, for queues it will be dollar. Again in dollar you will be having both bounded queues and unbounded queues, and you have to know the difference between bounded and unbounded. Okay, I'll link that in the description box, you can go check it out there. Right, so this is all about all arrays in one go. Okay, hope you are clear about this all arrays. Okay, so in tomorrow's session I'll be uh, explaining you about all the functions. That means when we are using arrays, since I already told you arrays is very important topic, so in arrays you are having some two more important topics, which is methods. Okay, until now we have discussed dynamic arrays is having some individual methods, associative arrays are having some individual methods, queues. So all these are having some individual methods, like if you see these are array methods. So and similarly all these arrays can use some methods in one go, like all these arrays can use these the topics that I am going to discuss tomorrow. Methods in arrays, array ordering functions, so all these functions can be used by all these arrays like collectively. Okay, so that we are going to discuss in the next session. So this is all for today. If you're having any doubts, you can link me in any of my social media platforms, and also if you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing this channel. And thank you for all those who have supported me in crossing 500 subscribers. Hope you'll support me in this way and grow this channel furthermore. Okay, so that is all for today. Thank you.